The next thing I'd want to talk to you about and address is the recent Charity Commission report which was published. The Charity Commission instigated a statutory inquiry into the trust which we set up, remember? We set up in 2010 for the benefit of the children of this school. And it had been running for something like 5 years when they decided to set this up. Now there's a whole host of reasons for this, one of which is utter confusion caused by, I regret to say, the Charity Commission themselves, because in 2011, a year after we set it up, they, for reasons we are still not clear about, deregistered us. Now, to deregister a trust, there is a process which should have been gone through, as far as I understand the law in relation to charities. This process was not followed. We were simply sent a letter telling us that we were no longer registered as a charity regulated by the Charity Commission. We were, in fact, a charity regulated by the Educational Funding Agency. We said fine. We had no reason to doubt this. And then the Education Funding Agency came in, as I said, oversaw the contracts, and we followed their advice to the letter. Those two charities, those two regulators, regulating two different charities, got it wrong. Absolutely wrong. Now, what I am puzzled about in the recent report of the Charity Commission, which incidentally took nearly 2 years, I believe 10 investigators were involved in it, and they came to conclusions which, as you'll see from my response on the website, and indeed the response from trustees, of which I do not speak, but I just draw your attention to their response, we find confusing. For example, there is no mention of the pivotal role the EFA played in the confusion and misdirection of us, the trustees, at that time. No mention whatsoever. So the conclusion being that we should have known, we as a lay people should have known that the regulators were wrong. They didn't know apparently, and they're regulators, but we should have known. I find that somewhat surprising that they came to that conclusion. Another conclusion which surprised me and disappointed me, I have to say, is they came to the conclusion that the money I received for the work I had done in creating the business which formed the charity, don't forget, was over generous. Now the reason I questioned that, and I'm puzzled by that, and somewhat disappointed by it, is that they completely ignored a report they asked the trustees to commission. So they wanted to know, quite understandably and quite rightly, what the benchmarking, what the right level of pay should have been. So the trustees did as they were directed. They went out to a specialist company called MM&K. Now their job is to look at these types of arrangements, to make an assessment as to whether the value provided by a provider like myself is good value for money or not. They concluded, this specialist independent company, commissioned by the charity themselves, they concluded that my contract offered value for money. It seemed therefore odd and somewhat surprising that the Charity Commission would make the comment that in their view it was over generous. So that I have no understanding of that, and you can see from my letter and my response to that, which I put on the web, what I think about that. However, we had to put up with that for 2 years. So once we fell out, and once we didn't do as we were told, and when Lord Nash told us if we didn't do as we were told, things would be difficult for us, and I was told by senior people that my reputation would be ruined. And since that time, we've had, of course, an EFA investigation. We've had the Charity Commission for 2 years. National Audit Office printed stuff which was false, completely false about us. Information supplied by the EFA, of course. And then we had PricewaterhouseCoopers, 7 months. You know, investigation after investigation. And what have they found? Well, nothing. We've done nothing wrong. Except, of course, educate the children to a very high standard. Except, of course, manage our finances really quite well. So, again, I ask you, and I asked the Secretary of State, and I asked Lord Nash, what is the purpose of their threat, their insistence upon taking over this school?